we're going to be talking about marriage tonight, and you don't want to miss it. So make sure you hit the share button, invite someone to come on and join us. And listen, you can even do a party, invite some other people to listen, and have some discussions later. So we're glad you're here with us tonight. And you know, this month of February, we're talking about relationships. We're dealing with relationships. And this couple is near and dear to my heart. It's my sister and my brother-in-law. He's not my brother-in-law. He's my brother-in-love. I thank God for him. He's been in my life over 30 years. My sister and him has been married for 38 years. They're going to be married 39 years this September. And they have known each other for 42 years. So it's so interesting. They have two children and two wonderful grandchildren now. So we thank God for them. But when I watched their relationship, they're one of the couples over the years that I watched. When I went through my divorce, they were my healing place. I would run to their house for healing when I went through that major trauma in my life. And so they've always been a safe place for me. And one thing I love about our relationship, they will always tell me the truth, not what I want to hear. Even when I don't want to hear it, they're going to tell me the truth. If I'm wrong, they'll say I'm wrong. If they feel like I need to check, they will do that. That's one of the things I loved about them. They could actually counsel from a clear heart, from the Word of God. They'd always take me back to the Word. They'd always encourage me in the Word, and they would always pray for me. And they didn't just do that for me. They pray for each other. We would be on vacation, my sister and I, and her husband would be praying for her before she goes to bed, prays for her when she gets up in the morning. I watched their relationship. So it wasn't like something someone told me. And one of the things that I really liked about their relationship, they really like each other. I'm not everybody we have to love because God says we love, but they like each other. They hang out together. They like to dress alike. I just love them. I just love how they carried, and they really showed me God. They really showed me God in their relationship. And they've been with us, I think it's twice before. And they were one of the couples that people asked for to come back on numerous occasions. Can we have Bridget and John back? So that's why they're back here with us tonight. So I hope you're ready. I'm not going to be asking them questions tonight. I'm not here to do an interview, not at all. But I really believe because of their number of years working in marriage ministry, I don't even have enough questions to ask them. I need help my own self. So I'm going to let them help you and help me tonight. I'm going to be taking notes. I don't have no questions. I'm here as a student, and I'm going to be taking notes along with you. Listen, marriage is not easy. Marriage is no party. It's not for the faint of heart. I was just telling my team in the studio, I was saying to them, listen, there's days you wake up and you're like, oh, I just love being married. We're going out to dinner. We're having fun. And there's another day I said, man, you go to the East Wing. I go to the West Wing. I'll see you on the weekend. That's how you feel. But you have to get back in there and work at it. And that's what my sister would tell me. If I said to her, I don't feel, she'll remind me, marriage is not a feeling. Marriage is a contract. You know, I get all those notes from her. So that's the thing that I want you to hear tonight is how they have, for 38 years, make it work. And for 42 years as friends, still like each other. Well, I'm going to turn them over to you, and I'm getting my pen and my notebook, and I'm going to be listening to the Foxes as John and Bridget Fox share what marriage boot camp looks like. God bless you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this marriage session. I'll turn it over to Bridget in order to introduce us.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, viewers. We're back. Thank you, Pastor Connie, for inviting John to your program. Pastor Connie has already pretty much mentioned some of the things that I wanted to introduce. But this evening, as she's already mentioned, we will be presenting a little different than we used to. We'll be given 15 minutes to share with couples, both married and single, some of our insights into the very complicated, complex, wonderful journey called marriage.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties getting them clear. So just give us a minute while we reach out to them and find out if they can turn it off and come back on to us. we just need a minute to see what we can do to reset everything and get them back on. It's the sound not on our end, but over on their end, and we don't want you to miss this information. So I'm just going to have the team reach out to them and work out the sound. So just give us a couple of minutes as we're reaching out to them to see what we can do, if we can change the whatever instrument they're using. We don't know if they're using their iPad or their computer, but we're going to just give us a couple of minutes. Now they had some good stuff on that. And so remember what I said: prepare, manage, and repeat. Prepare for marriage, and you have to manage your marriage, and there's things that you have to repeat to make it consistent. So we're going to have them come back and explain some of that to us. The other thing that Bridget was sharing with us is that the woman doesn't go looking for her husband at all. You don't go looking for him. The Bible says the man who finds a wife finds a good thing and finds favor with God. And so you've got to become the best version of you, from what she's saying to us. Become the best version of you. That way you are able to be whole for someone. The Bible says that we are complete in him. And before you become a part of anyone, you first have to be complete in yourself. You're not the half of anybody. You have to be complete. You have to be okay with yourself if you're going to be in a relationship and be happy. So we're allowing them to just tweak some things and get back on with us, because we know that you love the things that are being said, and we want to hear the rest stuff. So just give us some things. Just give us a couple of minutes, and they should be right back on. Just let me know if they're ready to come right back on, because I don't want you to miss this. This is some good stuff that I want you to hear. Unlike Bridget said, going to the grocery store, you don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know who you're going to meet. Let them meet the best version of you. You know, be authentic, be your best self. Love you before you ask someone else to love you. This is some good stuff, man. It's some good stuff that they're sharing with us. And I really believe what Deacon John is talking about, being able to prepare, being able to manage your marriage well, and being able to repeat things so that you get a good flow in your marriage. So I think they're about ready to come back. Let's see if anything has changed there.
My questions that I will expect you to ask if you're dating: do you know the Lord? Are you involved in ministry? Can we pray together? Hopefully, you're spiritual enough to know that you need the Lord in this relationship. Any hesitation or excuses is a definite red flag. Have you ever been in a serious relationship? If yes, what happened? What are some of your strengths? What are you good at? How about your weaknesses? Now, I have some questions here, and I also have some answers. And the answers that I have here would raise red flags. I'm going to give you the answers that raise red flags, and I'm going to give you the answer that how I would answer it. So here are the questions. What are you like when you don't get what you want? You ask your significant other. So what are you like when you don't get, or you can't get what you want? This is a red flag. If it's important, I push until I get my way. It's only fair. For me, at this stage of the game, if I can't get what I want, I do without it. Or I wait until that I can get it. I save for it. I put it aside and wait. People, you're not going to get everything you want when you want it. So you got to be flexible. Question number 2. When you feel disconnected, what do you usually do to get back together? Here's the answer. I do me, you can do you. If you think we should continue, you can let me know. So if he says to you, I do me, you can do you. If you think we should continue, let us know. Red flag. For me, if I feel the disconnect, most times the women feel disconnect. The men just go on like there's nothing wrong. They don't recognize when things are not going well. You have to let them know. You have to nudge them and say, listen, whether it's spiritual, whether you're not praying enough, whether you're not reading the word enough, whether you're not going to church, whether it's physical, you know, you don't tell me I look beautiful anymore. I'm not attracted to you anymore, or emotional, you know, whatever it is. The men most times are the ones that don't feel the disconnect. The women are the ones that have to bring it to their attention. And I will nudge and say, listen, this is not working. We need to talk. And you need to have a conversation and let them know, you know, I'm not feeling connected to you, and work it out. The third one is, are you trustworthy? Can I trust you? Do you have my back? If the person tells you that's something that you'll have to wait and see, I don't want to wait and see anything. I'm out. But for me, I've got my husband's back 100%. He can trust me, and I will be honest with him at all times. Back to John.
Bridget finished up talking a little bit about trust. Trust is critical, but how do you develop and how do you work in order to establish that trust in that relationship? We talked a little bit about preparation, so that was the prepare portion. Let's talk now about managing. As part of managing, we want to focus on communication, compromise, and fighting fair. 3 distinct topics, but yet they're intertwined in order for you to manage and to have that good marriage. Concerning communication, you want to make sure that you have some basic tools in your tool chest in order for you to do it effectively. And communication is something that is a constant process. You're always learning. And when you think you finally got it, that's when a curveball is thrown in the situation and you find that you have difficulty with that communication. So what are some of the basic things concerning communication? One is eye contact. That is something that you should know. But again, you find that a lot of times when it comes to communication, because people have their heads down now in their mobile devices and then doing other things, watching TV, you find that you don't have that eye contact. The adage is that the eyes are the pathway to the soul. You want to make sure that when you're communicating, you're actually looking the person in the eye. You want to be present when it comes to communication. While you're communicating, sometimes you run into situations where you have a burning response, but part of good communication is not interrupting. Again, wait until the person has expressed their feeling, expressed their hurt, and after they've done that, that's when you would respond. You need to practice active listening, meaning that you are engaged, you are present, and that you are listening to what's going on. So you want to listen without thinking, because if you're like me, when Bridget is bringing forth a point, I'm thinking of my rebuttal. Bridget is good with words. I struggle a bit. Because of that, and just statistics show that women do 10,000 words to a man 1,000. Mathematically, a man has to prepare to rebut, right? But you find that that is not a good tool to have when you are communicating. You need to listen without judgment. Again, you want to be open-minded. You want to listen to what is being said, and you want to feel the hurt. You want to feel the pain that the person is relaying as part of the conversation. Also, by doing that, you need to look at those non-verbal communication cues, meaning body language, things that are said, tears flowing, and things of that nature. You don't want to use that against them, but you want to get in that space in order to understand what they're communicating. And then also you want to make sure that you have a suitable environment. Usually you want to make sure it's at home, where the kids are not interrupted or they can't hear, because sometimes things get heated and volume raises and things like that, which is not good communication. You need to have your volume under control. But again, you don't want to do it in a restaurant, because if the conversation goes left, then you embarrassed, your wife's embarrassed, the restaurant will throw you out and all of that, right? So you're trying to avoid that situation. So you want to have a place where you can meet, where you can discuss, where you don't feel intimidated, where you feel that you could pour your heart out, so this way the other person could hear your heart, you're present, and you want to make sure that you're able to communicate effectively. In order to communicate effectively, you want to have the fruit of the Spirit, right? That's that love, joy, peace, long suffering. That's listed in Galatians 5:23 and 24. But again, as part of communication, you want to make sure that you are present when you're doing it. And you find with communicating, if you change the way you look at things, the way things look will change, right? And you find that it is good to take on that other person's perspective and hear the pain and damage that you cause as part of the situation. And again, when you're communicating, you want to stick to the topic at hand, and you don't want to go all over the place. With that said, I'll turn it over to Bridget to talk a little bit more about communication.
I'm going to talk about compromise right now. And what is compromise? How do we compromise? What does compromise in relationship really mean? Compromise is commonly understood as the giving up something in order to reach a place of understanding with your partner. No two people are the same. At some point in your relationship, you and your partner will have a different approach, opinion, a wish. There are going to be differences. No two-person marriage is going to be the same. And I believe God set it up that way. They complement each other. And so there are going to be differences. First of all, I want you to take a step back from the situation and ask yourself if this issue will matter next 10 minutes, next hour, next day, next 5 days, next 10 days, next week, in 5 years. Does it matter if you eat in Chinese food or Thai? Do you eat Chinese food? So why don't we decide on Chinese food tonight? However, if you use your savings to buy a house or go on a dream vacation, now we have issues here. You need to compromise. You don't go into the bank and take the money out and do whatever you want. There has to be a compromise. Using time as lens, put your problem into perspective. Put your feet in the other person's shoes, honestly. Ask yourself what the situation looks like from the other person's perspective. This is a chance to expand your emotional intelligence and capacity for empathy. Empathize. When you come in at your husband or your wife, like forcefully because they do something, try and put yourself in their shoes. What are they going through? What's going on in their head? Why are they doing what they're doing or saying what they're saying? Try walking in their shoes and see what happens. There's an adage, they say, never judge a man until you walked a mile in their shoes. Things you choose doesn't need to be first place to win. You don't always have to win an argument. You don't always have to win. You don't always have to have the last say. Back down, even if you're right. Give the person the opportunity to feel whole, because sometimes we come at each other, and when we leave an argument or a debate or a discussion, the person feels so small. You make them feel so small. It's not necessary. Think about that person You don't always have to win an argument. You don't always, even though you're more intelligent and you, like John said, you can, women, they're wordsmiths. I don't think I'm a wordsmith, but he said so. So okay, I'm going to go along with that. I don't have to win an argument all the time. If I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. And if he's wrong, he needs to say he's wrong. So back down. John uses this term all the time, back down for the sake of peace. Try that sometimes and see how it works for you. Flexibility is the key. Being dead set in your ways is not only unhealthy, but it's unhealthy for your own well-being, but also detrimental to your relationship. Being dead set in your ways don't help nobody. If you're wrong and you're dead set, the relationship is going nowhere. Compromise is not always easy. Sometimes you win a little, sometimes you lose a little. But if both of you are not willing to sacrifice in the relationship, chances are you will reach a junction in your relationship that will bring this relationship to a grinding halt. Robert Louis Stevenson said it this way: compromise is the best and cheapest lawyer. Turn it over to John.
Compromise, the best and cheapest lawyer. They say it's cheaper to keep her, right? And we want to make sure that that's not the only reason that we're keeping them. We want to keep them for love, which brings us to the part, remember I talked in the beginning, 1 Corinthians 7:28 talks about you're going to have some trouble. Yeah, you're going to have trouble. So you want to make sure that when you do have the trouble, you want to fight fair. So I'm going to spend some time going over fighting fair, and then I will go back over some of the things that were missed due to technical difficulties. When you are faced with a trying situation and it comes time for you that the communication skills have broken down and you now have to get into this discussion, I'm not going to use the word argument, but discussion. Do you find that you are so heated that you slam doors, you are doing things like walking away, ignoring, stonewalling, all of that, or you're making these sly remarks and making those snarky comments, and are you even falling back into your sinful ways and cursing? Remember, I asked that as part of the questions. Or being historical when you're hysterical, meaning that things that were discussed and things that were forgiven, you bring it up or regurgitate it in order for you to open up wounds and offenses. You don't want to do that when you are having a fight, for lack of a better term. Marriage is made up of two people, and we're fallen people, so conflicts are inevitable. But it's how you deal with those conflicts that is what determines the outcome. From Tony Evans, Dr. Tony Evans' Kingdom Marriage, he talks a little bit about you must realize that Satan wants to destroy marriage, not for the sake of ruining the marriage, but he wants to dismantle it. He wants to demolish your legacy. Again, it's not so important the life you live, but the legacy that you leave, right? Marriage is supposed to mirror God's image, but again, you're leaving a legacy. Satan wants to destroy that for your children and your grandchildren because he wants them to not experience that. And you find that the battle that we're fighting is a spiritual battle. When you are fighting, you have to know who the real enemy is. The enemy is not your spouse, because a lot of times when you get into these arguments, fights, etc., you start out fighting over one thing, but then you fight over other things that are not even relevant to the actual conversation. You don't want to be spread so thin and fighting battles on multiple fronts, because then everybody gets confused and you have no resolution in the end. But you want to make sure that you know who the enemy is. because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. So we do have the power in order to overcome the enemy who comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And that weapons that we can use is the weapons, the whole armor of God. That is what we need to use in order to combat the situation that we find ourselves in, and for us to fight fair. In order to do that, we want to establish the rules of engagement. We want to make sure that we cool down before we get into discussion. We want to make sure that we acknowledge and own the problem. A lot of times we fight and we never own the problem, so we have no resolution. We want to identify the problem by owning it, and we want to come up with a win-win situation. Not a me versus you or anything like that. We want both of us to win, so this way it will build on our intimacy. Some of the secular songwriters talk about making up is the best thing, right? But again, you find that, yeah, that is true, especially if you have a resolution to a difficult problem. You want to stick to the issue. Don't fight on multiple fronts. We want to stick to the issue, resolve the issue, and then we want to move on from that with forgiveness. You want to use I statements and not the you statements, because when you say I, you taking ownership for that problem. Then you want to forgive and forget. You find that you have new mercies every day, right? So the sins that you committed today, you want to make sure that you ask forgiveness, get forgiveness, and you want to move on with a new slate the next day. That's more easily said than done, because again, if the wound was very offensive, you find that that's not really going to happen. But again, you want to make sure that that is one of the goals that you want to have in order for you to move on. And then you want to pray to God for help. Again, prayer is critical concerning this whole journey of marriage. We want to make sure that we put God first. Again, if you start one of these fight situations by praying first, you find that the gloves will never really come off and you never really have to fight, because you're able to do it under the Holy Spirit. But again, in some cases, the gloves do have to come off, and then you do get into that whole discussion. But once you do, you want to make sure that you fight fair. Concerning fighting fair, you find that a lot of times things get misconstrued and you think that you could read the person's mind. Can you really read a person's mind? Let Bridget talk a little bit about that, and then I'll talk about the repeat portion, which is making your marriage fresh.
A major unrealistic expectation is believing your partner knows how you feel without you telling them. You know, some people believe that because they have been together for so long, you know, I can tell what he's thinking, you know, he's looking at me. I know exactly what he's thinking. No matter how close you are, how long you have been together, your partner cannot read your mind. The only way to guarantee that your partner knows how you feel is to talk to them. Building good communication skills is one of the best ways to ensure relationship longevity.
Okay, so how do you keep your marriage fresh? That's the repeat portion, because we talked earlier about prepare, asking the right questions. We talked about manage, communication. We talked a little bit about compromise and fighting fair. And then how do you keep your marriage fresh? In order to keep your marriage fresh, there's certain things that you do in order to heal hurts. You need to forgive fast. But some of the things that you'd want to hear a husband would want to hear the wife say is, saying yes to marrying you was the best decision I ever made. I love to hear my wife say that. And then another one is, you're one handsome man. Why you're laughing? Also, you guard me well. I love touching you. I have great respect for you. So those are some of the things that you'd love to hear your wife say, or a husband would love to hear his wife say, in order to keep that marriage fresh. So what are some of the things that the wife would want to hear the husband say? You give a lot. I'm deeply appreciative of how much you give. Another one is, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. Another one is, yeah, I fantasize about you, but I could do something about it. I've learned a lot from you. That's another one that's critical. And then this one, I love spending time with you. Notice that the husband, the last one that was critical to keep it fresh was respect. And the wife, love, was one that allowed you to keep it fresh. In order to keep it fresh, you need to also know your spouse's love language. Dr. Gary Chapman, he talks about the 5 love languages. I'm not going to drain that, but it's the words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. If you know what that is, then you're able to effectively love your spouse in the right way.
What do we do? I just have a few things that you can do to keep your relationship fresh. Try a new hobby. Do something different. You can start walking. I don't know. Go to the movies once a week. Do something different. Spending more time together. Phone free or social media free. Get rid of the phones for a minute or two, a couple of hours, and just talk to each other. Just enjoy each other's company. Have date nights. Set aside time, especially those of you that have children. That's what the church is for. Get some people in the church to keep your kids, some people that you trust. Make sure you trust them and you know about them before you let them watch your kids. Have them keep your kids for a couple of hours and go do something and enjoy each other. Schedule intimacy. Know that you're going to be intimate from when you wake up. Husband start talking stuff, and all through the day he's talking stuff. Something is going to happen tonight. Prepare for it. Work out together. Do some exercises. I mean, that's fun. That's fun if you can do it. Some people can't work out with their spouse, but if you can, you should try that. Make a list about everything you like about each other and talk to each other about it. John.
Okay, let me just go back to the top because we had the technical difficulties. Let me just go back to the top and talk a little bit about some of the things that you probably heard garbled because of the voices going in and out. The questions are one of the things that they wanted to hear a little bit more about. So for the questions, we had general questions. They are, what are your personal goals for the next 5 to 10 years? What is your job situation and hobbies? How would your parents and friends describe you? Have you ever been in trouble with the law? Again, these are the things that you're trying to find out about that person prior to marriage. This is in the prepare phase. Trying to find out, so this way you know what you're getting into. You know what to expect. And again, this is not an exhaustive list of those questions, but it's just something that we want to highlight for you to think about when you're dating that spouse or dating that person. Relationship questions. What are your plans for the future for this relationship? What kind of financial debt are you going to bring into this marriage? What are some of the physical boundaries you have in place to safeguard your purity? So those are just some of the questions that you'd have for relationships. But moving into the spiritual vein, what's your favorite book of the Bible and why? So again, being able to understand whether or not they read the Bible or not, and they have a favorite one. What areas of your life needs improvement? Those are some of them. And then the one about what are your views concerning alcohol, smoking, tattoos, piercings, and swearing? So those are some of the questions, but last but not least, concerning the family. How many children do you want to have? Because that is critical to know prior to moving forward. And then one concerning a measurement of how they are with their family would be this. What is your relationship like with your mom and dad? So again, these are some of the things that you could target as part of the section where you do interact with them. You have some discussion points. You want to make sure that you are getting the right communication, finding out about that person prior to moving that relationship along.
At this time, we're going to turn it back over to the host, and she will take it from here.
Well, I hope you all got some good questions. Now, I don't want Bridget and John to go anywhere yet because I'm not done with this. Y'all don't leave yet. Stay right there because there's a couple of things that you all have to answer for us that I need you all to go over a little bit. Now, here's what I took away from this. Historical, when you're hysterical, oh, I like that. John has to kind of share a little bit about that. What does that mean about being historical? Does that mean bringing up all of your old stuff while you're mad? Come on, I need to know about this.
Yeah, that historical, being historical when you're hysterical. Some people have longer memories than others. And because they have longer memories than others, you find that some people forgive and forget and move on quicker, where others are able to bring that stuff back up and they're able to regurgitate it. So that means once the argument starts, they just go historical. They say, you messed up there, you messed up there, you messed up there. And they're bringing up all of this old baggage that we had gone to God about, asked for forgiveness, confess that we're not going to do it again, but yet you're throwing it in my face. That causes wounds that are not easily healed.
Oh, I think I'm going to write a message on that, man. That is a word. That is a word from the Lord. I'm telling you. Tati and I got that one tonight. We got that. Talk to us a little bit. You all talked about communication, though. A lot of people, even though they're married, have not let go of the cursing, the negative words, the darts. How can you help some couples not go there, not go back to the flesh? How we can help people have arguments, disagree, but not be disagreeable, where we're calling each other out of the name. I've seen so much of that in relationships, even in the church. How can we help couples with that?
Well, John and I established from Jump Street that this is one thing that is not acceptable in our home. It's not what we're going to do. And, you know, we kept that. We kept that vow. You don't name call or, you know, slander your spouse. That is not love. If you're going to love them, you're going to respect them. Even though that you're in a conflict, you should at least respect that person and talk to them like they're a human being.
Yeah, because it says, you had this adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me. Words can cut and words hurt. And the Bible says, keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. That scripture is pointed in that when you put those words into the atmosphere, you cannot retract those. They cause wounds that they're not easily healed, and leave scars. And you find that, as Bridget said, once we were dating and we were talking about it, we said we're never going to call each other names. We're never going to curse. And as I was saying during the presentation, you find that that is one of the questions that you ask. Do you swear and stuff like that, right? So you want to make sure that you know what it is, you know what's up front, how they feel about it. And that's when you can set the rules and parameters and guardrails concerning cursing, swearing, tattoos, and all of that stuff.
And as a child of God, why are you cursing? Why? God is not, please God first. If your husband, if you're mad at your husband, at least believe that God is in the room with you.
Yep.
At least respect the Spirit of God, and don't be cursing. Don't be cursing.
But if you feel the curse word coming up,
you swallow it. You swallow it.
Inhale and count to
You
5.
swallow it and then ask God to forgive you, because He knows your heart.
He knows the heart.
But
okay,
you don't want,
no,
you don't want to damage your spouse.
No, okay. If you feel it coming up, do you say, well,
Swallow it.
Swallow.
let's take a break. Let's not talk right now. I need to go and
Swallow it. Yes.
okay. Okay. I think we have some more work. I think we have some more work to do, because I'm just thinking of times when things come up and you have to kind of grasp it and not say it, but sometimes the person is pushing you to still continue, and it's like, well, wait, I need to stop. If I continue talking, it's going to get worse.
Yes.
So isn't it better if you just let me get a minute, stop, and I come back?
Yes.
You
That's
know?
my strategy. Yeah, that's my strategy. If I feel like my spirit is getting out of control, I just stop. I need some time. When I feel that I'm capable of talking to you, I'll come back and we'll talk. But sometimes you need to take that break.
Okay, Bridget, they're asking you to repeat what you said in the beginning about the women's attitude, how they carry themselves, going out to the grocery store. You had a really good, and we couldn't hear you because of all of the feedback, but the ladies are asking if you could please share what were some of the comments you were making.
The single women to stop looking for a man. You don't have to look for a man. He's going to find you. And Proverbs 18:23 talked about, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. But you have got to know, you have to know what you're looking for in a husband. Anybody can just come to you. You have to know what it is that you want, what is going to work for you. Hopefully there's some people in your life that you can use as a reference, but you need to prepare yourself to be that good thing. You got to prepare to be that good thing. Work on becoming the best version of yourself. Take care of your physical appearance. We have more apparatus now to look fabulous. Take care of yourself. You don't have to show your assets to the world in order to attract men. A good Christian man is looking for, he can see that you're fine. He can see, without you showing all the boobs and all of the stuff that women tend to show, to attract a man. But make it easy for him to find you. Which can be anywhere. He can find you in the supermarket. He can find you walking in the park. He can find you at the movie theater. But please don't leave your house looking like you just crawled out of bed. Because you just never know where he's going to be. If you can travel, do things with your friends so you don't feel lonely. Work on your attitude. Stop being bossy, controlling, and needy. We have too much bossy, controlling, and needy women. He's not going to put up with you telling him what to do all the time. But first of all, that's out of God's will. Nobody wants to be around a woman who is angry all the time. And stop looking for him to validate you. You should know who you are. You should be confident in who you are. When he finds you, you should know that you are the best thing that could happen to him. Yes, he should compliment you when you look beautiful, but don't throw a tantrum if he don't. I mean, that's ugly. Spend time with couples that has healthy marriages. Try to get out of debt. Stop spending. Save. I mean, you have talked enough about having emergency fund. They should listen to your messages. Learn how to cook. People don't want to learn how to cook. They don't know how to boil an egg. And they want to get married. What are they going to serve their husbands? Well, I don't understand. Eating out is expensive. If you don't know how, ask somebody to help you. So that's pretty much what I spoke about.
But Bridget, a lot of the young women are not teachable. They know they can't cook, but instead of allowing you to teach them or help them, they choose not to. For whatever reason, I see it in the church. Here's something I want you and John to talk to me about. Now, I'm going to ask John to come back and share about pray, respect, and love. But before we do that, I want to ask you all, here's something I'm seeing in the church. Where are the proper boundaries? How do one young lady stop dating someone and go and date her best friend, and the best friend dating the best? How do we handle it? How do we teach against that in the church? Because a lot of times I see people that was a best friend, they break off and then they go date their best friend's friend, or they go date somebody's husband, or the wife dies, and before she can be in the coffin, they're already trying to get with the husband. How do we address some of these boundaries that are lacking in the body of Christ?
I think some of these women have low self-esteem. They don't think that they feel like they have to go after a man in order to get a man. And sometimes either one of two things, it either turns the man off or they will abuse you. And you never become what you think or you thought you were going to be, which is a lot of them think that they're going to be the wife. But they have made themselves so available to these men. There's no chase, there's no hunt. That sometimes the man, I don't know, I believe that the man think, well, if you're that easy for me, then what's different than somebody else? So I would think, basically, me personally, I would think it's low self-esteem, and they don't feel like they're good enough, or so they have to do the hunting.
All right.
Yeah,
Deacon John, could you share about the pray, respect, and love for us before we close out?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Bridget is saying, you find that the man does enjoy the hunt because that's built into their nature. And you find that if something comes too cheap, there's no value. And you find that if there is no value, then there's no longevity. And the sad part is that if the person is so flippant to go from one person to the next, what makes you think you're the last stop on this journey, right? So that's all the hurt and carnage that they're going to leave in the way. Some of the ways to combat that is to have in the men's ministry to talk about that value. What are you putting in place to promote your purity? So it's mainly a man's ministry that they're supposed to do that. As part of the men's ministry, have men's mentors, right? So they can share and talk about qualities concerning individuals. So those are just some of the things that should be in place in churches in order to talk about that. Some accountability, some purity type courses, and then also mentorship where there's accountability. You said about the last three things to talk about was what? The prayer?
Pray, respect, and love.
Okay. For praying, you find that in order for you to be effective in your relationship with your spouse, you have to pray. Because you find that even in the beginning with the threefold cord not easily broken, by you talking to God, you'll know how to talk to your spouse. You need to do it, one, individually, and then as a couple, because that shows two things, especially when children are involved. It shows the man is the head of the home and the man is taking the responsibility. Yes, some men are not very articulate. They're not very verbal. But again, you don't have to be verbal or articulate. The same way you talk to your friends or your boys concerning sports, you do the same thing talking to God, right? He knows your heart, he knows your thoughts, and he knows your mind. By that, you also would earn the respect. Most women, if they see the man take a leadership role, they will respect that man. If the man is lackadaisical, the man is just sitting home watching TV, not doing anything, no 10-year plan and things of that nature, no respect's going to come his way. So again, you find taking the role. When he takes the role, the wife needs to encourage him. And that's where the growth will start. Once the growth starts and you get that encouragement, then you find that you have the prayer, you have the respect, and then you get the love. You find that once your wife sees you as the head of the home, respects you, love is inevitable because women are built and designed by God to love. You do those basic things, you will get enough love to last 39 years in marriage.
I tell you, but I'm glad you all are able to share that with us. Thank you so much for sharing some of those nuggets with us tonight. Listen, somebody that's dating right now that say, listen, I want to be married. I feel like I'm ready. Just give me three things, maybe three things you will tell them if they're feeling like they're ready right now. What are three things you would say to them?
I would say prepare, manage, and repeat, which were the 3 points that we started out with. You have to prepare and you have to be prepared because you never know when the situation would arise. You have to manage yourself. You have to be one, ready to communicate, asking the right questions. You need to set yourself up to love. By you loving the Lord, you'll know how to love your husband or your future husband. And then you need to repeat the process because this adage is this: the only thing that's constant is change. You have to continue to change to improve yourself to be all that God has called you to be. If you're not changing and getting better, then you're falling behind. So you want to make sure that you are moving ahead. One of the things that I say periodically to people, especially when it comes to communication, to say fights, you don't get ahead if you're just trying to get even, right? A lot of times when you're fighting, you're trying to get even, but you're never getting ahead. The concept is this: you need to be the better person in order for you to be where God wants you to be, in order for you to be prepared. So again, prepare, manage, and repeat the process.
And if you are ready, if God feels that you are ready, God will send you that man.
Yep, set it up.
He will set it up. I was not looking for a man when God sent me a man. So you just never, like I said before, you just never know where you're going to meet your husband. I have a friend that she's been married 3 times, and her third husband, she found him in Home Depot. She found him in Home Depot, and she said she's the happiest she's ever been. So don't underestimate God. If God feels that you are ready, He will send that man.
Well, we have some viewers to let you know they're coming to Texas for more classes. Well, ladies, I think we need to go for a walk at Home Depot. Those of you that are ready, and those in Home Depot, throw a hammer, hit a nail. You need to go on over to Home Depot so we can find you your friend. All right. Thank you. You all going to get us on your calendar for at least once a quarter, once a month, to come back with some nuggets and share with us these things, because so many marriages are in a crisis today, and we really need people who have labored in the marriage to tell us and give us instructions on how to navigate these waters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in our marriage boot camp. God bless you, and we really enjoyed the nuggets that you shared.
Thank you for having us.
We want you to get the nuggets. We want you to hear the questions. We want you to hear the answers, because we wanted them to share those nuggets after being married for 38 going on 39 years. And I am a witness to their marriage. I'm telling you, I love their marriage. I love how they like each other. I love how they work together. My sister and I travel extensively together. And even when we're on the road traveling, the way they pray together, cover us in prayer, and just watch their relationship, I think it's such a wonderful thing. They're now living in Dallas, Texas, and they're doing so well. They're doing well in Texas, and they love the move that they have made. And I'm really hoping that John and Bridget would really take it seriously about being someone that will counsel and give words of wisdom to many of our marriages and those who plan to be married. Because marriage is no joke. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work, especially marriages in ministry. I know for myself, it's a lot of work. And some of you that are ready to get married, you have to be ready, because if you've been single for a long time, it really takes a lot for you now to become no longer independent, but now dependent on someone to walk with you together. So let's see what God is saying on our next series on relationships, what we're going to talk about next. Listen, send us some information, messenger me, put things up that our staff can read and see what you'd like us to come back with. We want to hear from you. What do you want to hear on our show? This show goes live in Chicago every Monday, and we come on here live, tape it with you live. We're going to have a upcoming series with live audience right here at the church. We're going to have live audiences that are going to be able to ask the questions. So you'll be able to come into the studio and ask the questions. We're looking for that time. I believe it'll be in the month of March that we're going to have some live where you can ask whatever you want to our panel, and we'll be able to give you the answers that you desire. God bless you. Thank you for joining me again tonight on Let's Talk.